Out here, no creature is born to rule. The throne has never been given. It must be seized in blood, and with tooth and claw. Only those who have walked through the valley of death truly understand the weight of power. And only they are worthy of ruling the savanna. At the edge of a waterhole, a shape lies motionless in the tall grass. A pair of amber eyes, unblinking, locked onto a herd of zebras drifting toward the water's edge. The African lion, the arbiter of life and death at this waterhole. Here, fear shapes every behavior. Ecologists call it the landscape of fear, a realm where the map of survival is drawn in terror. Every species knows which ground is safe and which is a killing field. And the waterhole is always a killing field. The zebras pause, ears pricked high, sharp eyes sweeping ceaselessly through the grass. They can smell death on the air. But thirst is stronger than fear. One misplaced step, 1 second of hesitation too long, and the grass erupts. The attack lasts just 4 seconds, but it has laid down the law for the entire savanna. Whoever controls the water controls life itself. 80% of lion hunts take place under cover of darkness. What cameras capture in daylight is merely a fraction of the true story. With a population of roughly 20,000 to 25,000 individuals, and falling, the African lion is no longer the invincible sovereign that legend would have us believe. The average male holds power for just 2 to 3 years before being overthrown by younger, hungrier rivals, an entire reproductive career fewer than 1,000 days. Females favor males with darker manes, a signal of robust health and elevated testosterone. But here lies a cruel irony. Dark manes also absorb far more heat beneath the African sun, making the most attractive males the least tolerant of the very climate they inhabit. Lions spend 20 hours a day at rest, but never mistake their languor for weakness. When they rise, the savanna trembles. On the African plains, every conflict begins and ends at the water. This is an immutable law, written across millions of years. The great question of this land is not who is strongest. It is this: does the strongest survive to the next rainy season, or the smartest? But this water is dwindling, and when it vanishes, the rules will change entirely. Every drop that evaporates ignites a new conflict. Every shrinking pool erases another boundary between predator and prey. To understand this eternal war, one must first understand the two worlds that coexist upon the same savanna, the world of those who kill and the world of those who are killed. And the line between them is far thinner than you might imagine. Even under the searing midday sun of the savanna, another power is always present. Not the lion, a force equally fearsome in broad daylight. The spotted hyena, the most misunderstood animal on the entire continent. For decades, documentaries cast them as craven scavengers, skulking at the margins of lion kills, waiting to steal leftovers. Science has proven precisely the opposite. 60 to 95% of a spotted hyena's diet comes from its own hunts, not from scavenging. They hunt in packs with tactics of breathtaking sophistication, encircling, splitting, and running relays until their quarry collapses from exhaustion. This is strategy, not crude instinct. In truth, it is the lion that routinely steals from the hyena, not the other way around. One of the greatest misconceptions in the entire history of zoology. Spotted hyena society operates under a strict matriarchy. Females dominate, males submit. A single clan can number 80, even surpassing 100 individuals, the largest army in the world of African carnivores. Females outweigh males by 10 to 14%, but their true power does not lie in mass alone. The jaws of a spotted hyena generate a bite force of approximately 1,100 pounds, the most powerful of any mammal relative to body size. That force is sufficient to crush the femur of a Cape buffalo. Nothing remains after a hyena's meal, not even bone. And this afternoon, beneath the scorching heat, what has unfolded for thousands of years plays out once more. A clan of spotted hyenas advances toward the waterhole, where the carcass of an antelope lies at the feet of lions. The sullen shadows of hyenas stretch long across the cracked earth. Their eerie whooping laughter rises the rallying cry, the call to arms. The lions snarl, but they are outnumbered. The hyenas have the greater force. In the full light of day, numbers decide everything. A lion's mane carries no authority when it faces 20 bone-crushing jaws. In the end, the lions retreat. Today, the waterhole belongs to the hyenas. Victory does not go to the strongest, but to the most numerous. With a population of roughly 27,000 to 47,000 individuals, the spotted hyena is classified by the IUCN as least concern. But few realize they are quietly vanishing from much of their former range. That is the world of the hunter. But the savanna holds another world, the world of gentle giants, creatures whose strength surpasses every predator, yet who have never needed fang or claw. As the fierce midday sun begins to soften in the late afternoon, the colossal silhouettes appearing on the horizon belong neither to lion nor hyena. They are African elephants, the largest land animal on Earth. A fully grown bull weighs up to about 15,200 pounds, taller than any SUV you have ever seen. A herd of elephants moving across the savanna leaves its mark on everything. Trees toppled, earth churned, trails carved into the land. They do not pass through a landscape, they reshape it. But the elephant's true power does not lie in its size. It lies in its trunk. An elephant's trunk contains between 40,000 and 90,000 muscle bundles. For comparison, the entire human body possesses just 600 muscles. A single organ on the elephant's face holds more than 60 times the number of muscles in our entire body. Evolution spent 40 million years engineering this instrument. That trunk can uproot an acacia tree, hoist a log weighing 300 pounds, yet possesses the delicacy to pluck a single tiny seed from the ground. Herds move under the guidance of a matriarch, the leading female, typically the oldest among them. She remembers routes her ancestors walked across hundreds of square miles, spanning generations. Seeds that pass through an elephant's digestive tract germinate in far-flung places, giving rise to new groves of trees. They sow life wherever they tread. No species on the savanna transforms the landscape as profoundly as the elephant. They convert dense woodland into open grassland and turn dry riverbeds into wells. Scientists call them the architects of the ecosystem. and that title is no exaggeration whatsoever. If elephants were to vanish, dozens of tree species would lose their sole seed disperser. Dry season wells would never be excavated. The savanna would be utterly transformed within a single generation. With a population of roughly 415,000 to 550,000 individuals, the IUCN classifies the savanna elephant as endangered. Every year, thousands are slaughtered for their ivory. But when the water dries up, it will be the elephant that saves them all, predator and prey alike. That moment has not come, not yet. Sharing the savanna with the elephant is a silent sentinel, the tallest creature on the planet. The giraffe. A full-grown male stands 18 to nearly 20 feet tall, the height of a two-story building. From that vantage, they spot danger before any other species on the grassland. The giraffe is the early warning system of the entire savanna when they bolt. Every other creature knows that peril is approaching. Zebras, antelopes, even warthogs, all glance toward the giraffe as though reading a news bulletin. If that long neck holds still, the savanna is safe. Their tongue, 18 to 20 inches long and as dexterous as a finger, is a striking blue-black. Melanin pigment shields the tongue from sunburn during the long hours spent feeding on acacia leaves under the African sun. Males compete for females through necking, swinging their enormous necks into one another like two cranes colliding. These bouts can last for hours and inflict grave injuries, even death. But the giraffe harbors one fatal vulnerability. To drink, it must splay its forelegs wide apart and lower that immense neck, the most awkward, the slowest, the most exposed posture imaginable. And the lions know it. The waterhole is where the tallest becomes the most vulnerable. Every time it bends to drink, a giraffe gambles with its life. 4 seconds to lower the neck, 4 seconds to raise it, 8 seconds that any lion could exploit with ease. With a population of roughly 117,000 to 140,000 individuals, the IUCN lists the giraffe as vulnerable, a silent extinction that few are even aware of. Those two parallel worlds, predator and prey, are about to collide. As the dry season descends, no one has a choice any longer. All must come to the same place. But before that collision unfolds, one more hunter demands our attention, the only one that operates alone. A phantom, vanishing and reappearing in plain sight. The leopard, the most solitary of Africa's great cats. While lions hunt in prides and hyenas rely on sheer numbers, the leopard trusts no one but itself. It stalks alone, it kills alone, it guards its prize alone. Though renowned as a creature of the night, it remains a formidable ghost, even in broad daylight. A time when the rosette-patterned coat provides supreme camouflage beneath the dappled light that filters through scattered trees and pale, withered scrub. Its menu is astonishingly diverse, over 90 species, from field mice to large antelopes. Anything that moves may become dinner. This afternoon, a leopard lies in ambush at the edge of a thicket. Nearby, an impala stands resting in the shade, sheltering from the punishing heat. But the impala is no easy meal. Its ears are perpetually pricked, its eyes in constant motion, a vigilance honed by its ancestors across millions of years. An impala can reach speeds of 34 to 56 miles per hour, and when it runs, it executes erratic zigzag leaps, covering 33 feet in length, 10 feet in height, scrambling the vision and calculations of every pursuer. The leopard explodes from the bush. The impala launches itself skyward in the same instant, twisting and changing direction in a heartbeat. The hunter's pounce falls short, and it must abandon the attempt. Even the smallest prey on the savanna possesses its own repertoire of tricks. Nothing surrenders without a fight. Two hours later, the leopard brings down a hare that strayed into the blazing open grassland. Not a large meal, but enough. And this is what makes the leopard truly extraordinary. It hauls its kill into a tree, a carcass equal to its own body weight. High among the branches, no lion, no hyena can reach it. This is the only VIP restaurant on the savanna, a dining table in the sky. The leopard eats slowly, eyes gazing downward. Below, two hyenas pass through, catching the scent of blood drifting on the sweltering air, yet unable to trace its source. That is precisely why the leopard carries its kill aloft, a lesson in survival that solitude itself has taught. With numbers declining across the continent, the IUCN classifies the leopard as vulnerable. Even the most masterful ghost is slowly fading from the forests it once called home. But out there, under the climbing sun, another battle is just beginning. The battle of speed. The cheetah's body is an engineering masterpiece, sculpted by 40 million years of evolution for a single, solitary purpose: velocity. "70 miles per hour, 112 kilometers per hour, the fastest creature on land." Its claws retract only halfway, like the spikes on a sprinter's shoes, gripping the earth with every stride. Its spine flexes like a coiled spring, allowing the front legs to touch down before the hind legs have left the ground. At full stretch, all 4 feet leave the earth at once. In that fleeting instant, the cheetah flies. Each sprint lasts 20 to 30 seconds, covering 650 to 1,000 feet. That is everything the cheetah has, nothing more. But speed exacts a price. For years, it was believed that cheetahs had to stop because they overheated. Modern research has proven otherwise. It is not heat, but pure muscular exhaustion and physiological stress. After every sprint, the cheetah's heart rate skyrockets, its body shudders, and it must lie gasping for at least 15 minutes before it can even stand. That is the moment when the fastest becomes the most vulnerable. And cruelly, it is precisely this window of weakness that draws every opportunist within a radius of several miles. Hyenas, vultures, even lions. With a population numbering in the hundreds of thousands, Thomson's gazelles are the currency of the savanna, the species every predator wants to spend. But large numbers do not mean safety. Large numbers simply mean there are enough to die and still endure as a species. That is the survival strategy of the vulnerable breed prolifically. Absorb the losses and carry on. The cheetah creeps forward. 100 feet, 65 feet. Beneath the spotted hide, muscles quiver like coiled wire. Then it launches. In the first 3 seconds, 0 to 43 miles per hour, faster than any supercar on the planet. The Thomson's gazelle cuts left. The cheetah follows, rotating its entire body in midair. The long tail whips sideways like a rudder. 14 seconds. Claws meet hide. The chase is over. The distance between life and death on the savanna is measured in seconds. Not minutes, not hours. Seconds. The cheetah lies, gasping beside its kill, too spent to eat. It will need up to 2 hours to recover, and for those 2 hours, it is utterly defenseless. A cackling whoop rises from the east. Spotted hyenas ever watchful over every hunt on the plains. The hyena clan advances. The cheetah snarls feebly, but it knows this is a battle it cannot win. It retreats. The kill it just made now belongs to another. Males form coalitions with their brothers' pairs or trios to defend territory and improve their chances of keeping a kill. Females live solitary lives, encountering males only to mate. With roughly 6,500 to 7,100 individuals remaining, the IUCN classifies the cheetah as vulnerable, the rarest big cat in all of Africa. But if the cheetah is the symbol of speed rendered powerless, then the African Cape buffalo is the symbol of collective might when prey decides to fight back. A buffalo herd can number in the hundreds, even the thousands. Their defensive formation is as disciplined as any army. Adults form a ring facing outward, horns bristling, calves hidden at the center. The buffalo's horns fuse at the crown of the skull into a thick shield of bone known as the boss, hard enough to withstand a full kick from a lion. Today, the lion pride attacks. The lionesses coordinate, splitting the herd, isolating a young calf. The entire herd halts, turns, and charges straight at the lions. The lions are forced to release the calf. The buffalo have rescued one of their own. A rare solidarity in the natural world. With a population of roughly 400,000 to 900,000 individuals, the IUCN classifies the Cape buffalo as near threatened, not endangered, but far from safe. But the clash between lion and buffalo is merely the overture. The savanna's greatest spectacle is bearing down upon us. Millions of footfalls from the south. The earth thrums like a drumbeat. Dust blankets the sky. The Great Migration, the largest ecological event on the planet. $1.5 million to 2 million wildebeest, alongside hundreds of thousands of zebras, pour across the Serengeti Mara plains in an annual odyssey spanning roughly 930 to 1,860 miles. From the air, the migration resembles a black river flowing through a golden savanna. No banks, no bottom, only movement. The ground trembles beneath millions of hooves. Calls echo across the plains, a chorus of life on the march. And what makes this migration truly astonishing? Two species complement each other like two halves of a single body. Zebras lead the way. Their sharp eyesight and spatial memory chart the route. They consume the tall, coarse grasses, the portion wildebeest cannot digest. Wildebeest follow behind. Their extraordinarily keen sense of smell detects water sources from great distances. They feed on the short, tender grasses, the growth the zebras have exposed. The two species need each other to survive. Not symbiosis in the strict scientific sense, but a complementary partnership, each strong precisely where the other is weak. This odyssey has no leader, no map, only a collective memory passed down through thousands of generations, and the instinct to follow the rain, to follow life itself. Every day on the march, thousands of calves are born right on the migration trail. They must stand and run alongside their mothers within 10 minutes of birth, no exceptions. Migration brings hope. Fresh grass for herbivores exhausted by the dry season. New water from the northern rains. But migration also delivers fresh prey. Lions, hyenas, leopards all shadow the migrating herds. The predators need not give chase. They simply stand still and wait for the feast to walk to them. The arriving herds carry both hope and death. Emotion on the savanna reverses in an instant, from awe at the grandeur to dread of what lies ahead. In this eternal war, who will prevail, the grazers or the hunters? Share your thoughts with Wildverse in the comments below. But standing before those millions of footsteps is the Mara River. Its brown, turbid water flows slowly, with a stillness that is deeply unsettling. And beneath that tranquil surface, something has been waiting for weeks, motionless, patient, perfect. Millions of footsteps have brought them here, but the next step, the step into the water, may be the last. The Mara River spans barely 165 feet, but those 165 feet are the distance between life and death. Beneath the murky brown water, a creature has lain motionless for weeks on end, not eating, not moving, simply waiting. The Nile crocodile, a reptile that has endured virtually unchanged for 80 million years, since the age when dinosaurs still reigned. They have survived 5 mass extinctions, 5 times that life was nearly erased from the planet, and the crocodile remains, unaltered, with no need to alter. A mature male measures roughly 11.5 to 16.5 feet. Exceptional individuals may exceed 16 feet, but these are outliers, not the standard. Their weapon is patience, and a set of jaws that generate a bite force of approximately 3,700 psi. The most powerful of any living animal on Earth, confirmed by research published in 2012. On the riverbank, thousands of wildebeest and zebras mass together. They know what lurks below, but behind them, the grass is gone. Ahead, fresh pasture awaits. Then one plunges in. As if by signal, the entire herd follows. The muddy water erupts. Thousands of hooves thrash wildly. Desperate cries echo through the river valley. A crocodile strikes. One snap, one spinning death roll, and a wildebeest vanishes beneath the surface in under 2 seconds. The water runs red. But the migration does not stop. It cannot stop. Chaos. Others scramble onto the backs of those ahead. Some drown from being trampled, not from crocodile jaws. But the majority make it through. Primal instinct drives them forward through the water, through the fear, through death itself. The survivors swim to the far bank, legs quaking, hides drenched in mud. They claw their way up the steep embankment, slipping, climbing again, at any cost. And the moment they set foot on dry ground, another surprise awaits. A pride of lions, lying in ambush on the opposite bank for days. Below the water, crocodiles. Above it, lions. No escape. This is the moment the herbivore-carnivore war reaches its most merciless crescendo. But amid this slaughterhouse, nature conceals a moment of tenderness beyond all expectation. With the very same jaws that exert 3,700 psi, enough to crush a buffalo's femur, a mother crocodile gently picks up each egg as it is about to hatch. When the eggs crack open, the mother uses those very jaws of death to carry each hatchling, one by one, down to the water, gently, carefully, without a single scratch. Even the most brutal creature on the river has its gentlest moment. Nature is never as simple as we imagine. With a population stabilized thanks to conservation efforts following the hunting era of the 1940s through the 1960s, the IUCN classifies the Nile crocodile as least concern, a rare recovery story. But the Mara River does not belong to the crocodile alone. Another creature dwells here, one that even the crocodile treats with deference. The hippopotamus, a herbivore, but do not let the label plant eater deceive you. Weighing up to about 7,000 pounds, capable of reaching 19 miles per hour on land, faster than any human sprinter alive. The lower canine's elongated tusks, in truth, exceed 20 inches in length. When a hippo opens its mouth, it is not yawning. It is issuing a warning, "This is my domain." Roughly 500 people are killed by hippos every year, more than by lions, crocodiles, and sharks combined. The most dangerous large mammal in Africa is not a predator. In the water, the hippopotamus reigns supreme. Its aquatic territory is inviolable. The Nile crocodile, despite possessing the most powerful jaws on the planet, will swim a wide detour to avoid a hippo's domain. Herbivore, stronger than carnivore, the greatest paradox on an African river. By night, hippos emerge onto land to graze, carving well-worn trails from the river into the interior. Those trails become drainage channels during heavy rains, oxygenating the river and sustaining the entire aquatic ecosystem. Even a species that seems to do nothing more than wallow and menace is quietly engineering an entire ecosystem. On the savanna, no one is without purpose. With a population of roughly 115,000 to 130,000 individuals, the IUCN classifies the hippopotamus as vulnerable. Even a creature that seems invincible is gradually disappearing. Habitat loss, territorial encroachment, and poaching for ivory hippos face threats that no amount of bite force can repel. But on land, the dry season still tightens its grip. The waterholes shrink with every passing day. The grasslands shift from gold to brown, then from brown to grey. The river has been crossed, but on land, water is still vanishing, and only one species can find it. The elephant matriarch leads her herd in silence. She has lived for more than 50 years. She remembers dry seasons worse than this one, and she remembers the way. The others follow without question, without doubt. 50 years of memory is something no one argues with. At a dry riverbed, she stops. The earth is cracked, with no trace of water whatsoever. But she knows where it lies. The entire herd begins to dig. Trunks sweep sand aside, front feet press and compact, opening a deepening well. The calves watch and learn. They do not know where the water hides, but they are memorizing the technique. One day, when the matriarch is gone, they will be the well diggers. "20 minutes, 30 minutes, then water. It seeps up from the earth, filling the well the elephants have carved. The herd drinks first, then they step back, and the miracle begins. From every direction, creatures converge. Zebras, impalas, warthogs with tails held high, sparrows, insects. More than 20 species line up at the well the elephants have made. Each species waits its turn. No one cuts ahead. No one drives another away. The elephant's well has its own law, the law of thirst. And then the lions arrive as well, at a respectful distance. No one attacks. No one flees. A moment of peace at the waterhole predator and prey, sharing the most precious thing on the savanna, water. The lions finish drinking, rise, and lick their lips. Then they walk away, without so much as a glance, at the impalas standing just a few yards off. Today, water matters more than meat. The promise made at the beginning of this story has come true. When the water runs dry, it is the elephant that saves them all, predator and prey alike. And yet, this moment of peace is achingly fragile. Tomorrow, when the thirst has passed, the old laws will return. Lions will hunt again, impalas will run again, and the waterhole will once more become a battlefield. Behind this cycle of life and death, every living soul out here teeters on the edge of an abyss. The African elephant numbers just 415,000 to 550,000 individuals, dwindling each year to the ivory trade. The fastest creature on land, the cheetah is desperately racing against its own extinction, clinging on at 6,500 to 7,100 individuals to become the continent's rarest great cat. Even the lion's empire has evaporated by 40% in just 2 decades, holding a mere 20,000 to 25,000 survivors. Meanwhile, with 117,000 to 140,000 individuals left, the giraffe is falling in a silent extinction the world has barely begun to notice. The savanna is shrinking every year. Farmland encroaches, fences divide, migration routes are severed, water sources are diverted. Climate change is stretching the dry seasons longer, making the rains more erratic. Laws written across millions of years are being rewritten in mere decades. And species that evolved to thrive under the old rules cannot adapt fast enough. Remove a single link from this chain, and the entire system collapses. On the African savanna, it is not the strongest that survives, nor the smartest. The survivor is the one bound to the ecosystem because out here, no one endures alone. Lions need buffalo. Buffalo need grass. Grass needs elephants. Elephants need water. And water needs all of them. A lion rests on the bank. Antelopes graze in the distance. A herd of zebras passes by, their reflections rippling across the amber water. Though the dry season has not yet relented, the first clouds have appeared on the horizon. The rain will come. It always does. The savanna turns. The dry season will pass. The rains will return. the migration will begin anew, and the eternal war between predator and prey, a war that has raged far longer than any civilization will carry on. Thank you for journeying with Wildverse. The natural world still holds countless stories waiting to be told. If you haven't subscribed, now is the perfect time. We'll see you on the next expedition. Ground temperatures soar beyond 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Every creature on this land must now make a choice, to move or to conserve. Beneath the sparse canopy of acacia trees, a pride of lions lies motionless, their breathing slow and measured, eyes half closed in the meager shade. Lions spend nearly 20 hours each day at rest, not out of indolence, but out of strategy. Energy on the savanna is so precious that every muscle should only be called upon when truly needed. The largest male, his dark mane thick and tangled, an old scar tracing a line from shoulder to flank, lies apart at the edge of the pride. His amber eyes open slowly, sweep the horizon, and close again. But as the afternoon heat begins to relent, the mood within the pride shifts. The females lift their heads, ears swiveling, nostrils testing the air. A hunting instinct, refined over millions of years, is stirring. On the savanna, it is the lioness who is the true hunter. The male is too heavy, too slow for the high-speed pursuits that bring down prey. His role is to defend the territory and to claim the spoils. Several females peel away from the pride, moving low through the dry grass. A pincer formation, a cooperative tactic that few other great cats employ. Ahead, a herd of zebra grazes near a shallow waterhole. Their black and white stripes might seem conspicuous, but under the fierce glare of the sun, these bold patterns create an optical illusion, blurring the boundaries between one animal and the next. The air is almost perfectly still. The zebra's sharp eyesight and constantly rotating ears scan the surroundings, but the sun-bleached grass has rendered the tawny coats of the lionesses all but invisible. The distance closes, 100 feet, 65. Muscles coil beneath the skin, heartbeats quicken. The lead lioness explodes from the tall grass. The zebra scatter in blind panic. Red dust erupts in a choking curtain. Hundreds of black and white stripes weaving and crossing as the herd flees, momentarily confounding the hunters. The two remaining females cut in from either side. The pincer snaps shut. One zebra, a fraction too slow, falls within range. Hunting zebra is always a deadly wager. A single kick from those stone-hard hooves can shatter a jaw or extinguish a hunter's life in an instant. The lioness deftly evades the kick, hurls her full weight onto the quarry's hip, and brings it crashing to the ground with a single, decisive strike. Red dust rises across the scorched savanna, and then everything falls silent once more. The dark-maned male emerges from behind. He approaches at a leisurely pace, in no hurry whatsoever. The females who completed the kill withdraw, yielding their place. On the savanna, the strongest eats first, even if he is not the most skilled hunter. But even the dominant cannot control one thing: water. The waterhole, near where the zebra once grazed, has been bone dry for weeks. To drink, the entire pride must travel more than 9 miles each day. When the temperature drops sufficiently, the pride moves in silence toward the last river still holding water. One by one, they lower their heads and lap at the murky surface. The cubs press between their mother's legs, drinking while glancing nervously in every direction. On the savanna, even the creature at the very top of the food chain must bow before one thing: water. On these plains, no species truly owns this land forever. But there is one thing that decides who lives and who dies, and it is not tooth or claw. Thousands of miles away, the Luangwa Valley is about to prove that more clearly than anywhere else on Earth. At the heart of Africa, the Luangwa Valley awaits the first rain after months of absolute silence. After months of drought, the rains have finally come to the Luangwa Valley, and when the sun rises the following morning, the scene that greets it is utterly transformed. The ground is still saturated. Water pools fill every crack, every small depression turning the parched floodplain into a mirror reflecting the sky above. More than 20 hours of unbroken rainfall have soaked deep into the fractured earth. Now, under the morning sun, the ground gleams with standing water, and the air carries that distinctive scent of damp soil, a fragrance this valley has not known in a very long time. The valley has changed beyond recognition. Hollows that were dusty and bare are now brimming with water. Green shoots begin to push up through the cracks in the earth. The mopane woodland bursts into new leaf. Seeds that have lain dormant in the soil for months now germinate in unison. In just a few days, this barren land transforms into a carpet of fresh green stretching clear to the horizon. One day of rain, just one day, and it is enough to resurrect an entire valley. The Luangwa River, one of the largest undammed rivers in southern Africa, begins to rise once more. Along its 478 miles, the current carries silt and life into every corner of the ecosystem. But water does not merely awaken the vegetation. It triggers one of the most extraordinary events in the insect world. Within hours of that first downpour, thousands of winged termites erupt from the earth. They spiral through the air, enveloped in pheromones, chemical signals that guide the search for a mate. This is a rare opportunity for different colonies to exchange their genetic material, giving rise to new populations. But for the vast majority of these winged termites, this nuptial flight will also be their last. Most will not survive more than a few hours. Wings shed, bodies spent, their evolutionary purpose fulfilled. Termite carcasses blanket the surface of the newly formed pools. A vast protein banquet, laid out across the center of a valley, just waking from its slumber. A troop of vervet monkeys, some 70 strong, descends upon the feast at once. Hands snatching without pause, mouths never stopping. One young mother eats faster than all the rest. This is the most abundant meal she has had in months. The protein from these termites will be converted into milk, the sole lifeline for the tiny infant clinging to her belly. A newborn vervet scarcely leaves its mother's body during the first month of life. It grips with all 4 limbs, its face pressed into the fur of her chest, while she moves through the branches and across the ground to forage. Now, she and the other mothers in the troop have enough energy to continue nursing, but this windfall of protein will not last. That milk will dwindle as the dry season descends and El Niño is on its way. The entire valley has awakened. Mopane trees unfurl new leaves. Seeds sprout everywhere. Herbivores return in ever-growing herds. Ecological studies show that roughly 90% of wildebeest calves are born within the first 2 to 3 weeks of the rainy season. Synchronized, birthing an evolutionary strategy designed to overwhelm predators through sheer numbers. The newborns must stand almost immediately. Legs trembling, eyes not yet adjusted to the light, but instinct drives them to walk, because every second spent lying on the ground is a second closer to death. Life returns to the valley, but with it, so do the predators. Concealed in the newly sprouted grass, just tall enough to cover a body pressed flat to the earth, a lion waits, patient, utterly silent. It does not target the adults too fast, too alert. Instead, its gaze tracks the slowest calves, those that have just strayed from their mothers, those whose steps still falter on the wet grassland. A newborn calf falls behind. Its small hooves stumble through the waterlogged grass. A few seconds of silence. The lion launches. The entire wildebeest herd erupts in chaos. The thunder of hooves rolls across the plains. Terrified calves race after their mothers, but not all of them make it. The strike is swift, played out on a stage of green grass barely recovered from the dry season. On these plains, every new life also marks the beginning of a new hunt. Every form of life begins to shift with the turning season. From worker bees returning to wildflowers, to tree frogs emerging from their beds of damp mud, the valley pulses with a new heartbeat. The valley enters a new cycle. But the cycle of survival has never paused, from the smallest organisms hidden beneath the soil to the great herds thundering across the floodplain. Yet on this land, no season lasts forever. Even as the ground remains cloaked in fresh green, the first whispers of another dry season may already be gathering somewhere beyond the horizon. The Luangwa Valley stretches across eastern Zambia, part of the Great East African Rift System. South Luangwa National Park alone covers more than 3,400 square miles. It is one of the harshest ecosystems on the continent, a place where, each year, life must endure a brutal cycle: flood, then drought, abundance, then desolation. Ordinarily, the rains here begin in late October or November, but this year, El Niño has shattered every pattern. The El Niño phenomenon drives rainfall across southern Africa well below average. Zambia declares a national disaster. The Luangwa River drops to its lowest level in 2 decades. Six months without a single drop of rain, the grasslands become a sea of red dust. Trees stand leafless and skeletal under a pitiless sun. The last waterholes vanish from the floodplain, leaving behind cracked mud and the withered remains of vegetation scattered across the parched ground. This is the cruelest chapter of the year. With each passing day, more individuals simply cannot endure any longer. Elephant calves born into the drought must grow up in a state of perpetual hunger and thirst. The old, the weak, the injured begin to fall behind the migrating herds that press ever onward. Before long, the hot wind and red dust will erase every trace of them from the sun-scorched plains. 6 months of drought. The Luangwa Valley has become an ocean of dust stretching to the horizon. The grasslands burn under the sun. The last patches of vegetation begin to collapse. The water table has all but disappeared. To survive, the elephant herd must travel more than 31 miles each day in search of food across a floodplain that is slowly turning to desert. At the front, leading the way, is the oldest female, the matriarch. Her body weighs more than 13,200 pounds, but each of her footfalls on the cracked earth carries the weight of something far heavier: responsibility. The matriarch's mental map records more than 100 different water sources accumulated through numerous extreme droughts across a long lifetime. Every life behind her depends upon that memory. She has lived through many dry seasons, yet the memory of each remains as vivid as the day it was formed. Elephants possess extraordinary recall. They remember faces, they remember paths, they detect the scent of water from dozens of miles away. Elephants walk on their toes, a structure known as digitigrade locomotion. A thick pad of fat beneath the heel acts as a natural shock absorber, enabling a body weighing several tons to move steadily across hard, unyielding terrain. But that fat pad serves an even more remarkable purpose. Embedded within it are Pacinian corpuscles, microscopic vibration sensors capable of detecting signals transmitted through the ground. In a very real sense, elephants possess ears beneath their feet. Vibrations travel through the earth, up through the bones of the leg, into the shoulder, and onto the inner ear, a pathway of bone conduction that allows them to sense thunder from more than 19 miles away. No matter how far they must travel, the matriarch always leads her family back to the last river, still holding water in this desiccated valley, the Luangwa. One by one, the elephants step down the riverbank in a state of utter exhaustion. A trunk nearly 6.5 feet long draws up more than 2.5 gallons of water at a time, then delivers it to the mouth. Elephants do not drink through their trunks. The trunk is merely a tool for suction and pumping, powered by more than 40,000 muscle fibers working in concert. In the searing heat, this modest measure of water seems to be the only solace the herd can still find. The Luangwa's flow has now dwindled to a feeble trickle between wide banks of sand. Each day, the water level drops by another inch or so, just enough to feel the desperation spreading quietly through the valley. High overhead, the first clouds appear. The air grows heavier, as though the rains are near. But then the sun breaks through. A hot wind sweeps those pale grey shapes away from the valley. Hope dissolves with the clouds. And so it goes. Day after day, the matriarch leads her family along the same familiar route, from the shrinking river to the last thin patches of grass and back again. A loop of survival she has traced through many dry seasons, but never one as merciless as this. Each time the elephants return to the river, the water level is lower than before. The mud wallows, where buffalo once bathed, are now nothing more than white cracks baking in the sun. For the youngest calves, water cannot be delayed any longer. They remain entirely dependent on their mother's milk, but after months without adequate food or water, the mothers can no longer produce enough nutrient-rich milk to sustain their young through this extreme drought. Small feet begin to falter. The calf's eyes reflect utter exhaustion. But still, it follows the shadow of its mother, the largest, the safest presence it has ever known. If water does not come soon, it may not hold on much longer. When the temperature reaches its zenith, the herd performs a familiar ritual. Each elephant curls its trunk around a load of sand and flings it forcefully over its back and flanks, forming a protective coating against the sun and dislodging parasites from the skin. Amid the dust-choked savanna, the sight of elephants bathing in sand resembles great grey phantoms drifting slowly through mist, except this is not mist, it is red dust. But this is a family bound by deep, enduring bonds. The mother and the other females in the herd will never abandon a calf along this brutal journey. They slow their pace, they wait, they reach out with their trunks to touch the young one gently. A quiet reassurance, spoken without words. And somehow, the entire herd seems to understand that only water can save this valley now. While the elephants search for water, another battle is erupting in the middle of the dwindling river. Hippopotami, weighing between 4,000 and 8,000 pounds and capable of running at nearly 19 miles per hour on land, they are colossal engines of muscle. But this year's drought has been especially savage for them. Forced into ever-shrinking pools, tension ripples along the river. The males display their strength without ceasing, jaws thrown wide, tusks bared, intimidating any rival that dares come too close. The prolonged dry season has turned the riverbank into a simmering battleground. The dwindling water has become the most valuable resource of all, and any male wishing to hold his position must be prepared to fight. At last, the pressure that has been building for weeks finally erupts. Two enormous males charge at one another in the murky water. Every collision sends mud spraying across the surface of the river. Bellowing roars echo along banks that continue to recede. Jaws gape open, revealing tusks that can crush bone. Water explodes upward. Red mud coats the backs of both combatants. Each clash of jaws sounds like timber, striking timber, a noise that carries hundreds of feet along the riverbank. Around them, the other hippos stand perfectly still, eyes wide, but they do not intervene. In hippo society, hierarchy is determined by violence, and the loser must accept exile. The battle leaves devastating consequences. The older hippo is severely wounded in the leg. Instinct still drives him to search for food, but his exhausted body can no longer carry him across the endless, scorching grassland. That immense frame once ruled this unforgiving land. Now, only a spent and weakening shadow remains a living scar upon the savanna, a silent testament to the cruelty of time. Red-billed oxpeckers begin to settle on the wound. The relationship between these birds and the hippo is more complex than it appears. They feed on ticks and parasites, which is beneficial. But at the same time, they also keep the wound open, feeding on blood and damaged tissue, compounding the pain under the punishing sun. Mutualism or parasitism. The line between the two is so thin that even science has yet to settle the debate. After being driven from the main waters, the old hippo finds nothing more than a small puddle amid the thick mud. The water reaches only halfway up his belly, just enough to keep his skin moist in the sun. His eyes close, nostrils huffing labored breaths across the surface of the mud. It is an image that anyone who witnesses it understands at once the ending has already been written. And then, as though following an immutable law of the savanna, the passing of a great animal never unfolds in solitude. The disappearance of the old hippo shifts the atmosphere along the dry riverbank. In the midst of drought, any source of sustenance that appears immediately draws attention. From the shade of the riverbank, a lion steps out slowly. Each heavy footfall prints itself into red dust, still holding the heat of the afternoon. No chase, no ambush. In the depths of this merciless dry season, opportunity seldom presents itself so easily. Above, the silhouettes of vultures begin to appear. They wheel in wide, unhurried circles over the dry mud before descending gradually along the riverbank. For the scavengers, the dry season is always the busiest time of year. In Luangwa, life never exists in isolation. What ends for one species sometimes becomes the very source of life for many others. It is precisely this brutal cycle that has kept this ecosystem running for thousands of years. The hippos are not alone in their suffering. The troop of vervet monkeys, the family we met at the termite feast, is now facing a crisis of its own. The dry season has stretched far beyond its normal span. El Niño has obliterated every familiar schedule. Ordinarily, vervets synchronize their breeding season so that infants arrive when food is at its most plentiful. But this year, the meager supplies are vanishing faster with each passing day. The newborns remain entirely dependent on their mother's milk. In the first week of life, clinging to the mother's body, scarcely letting go for a moment. Mother's milk is the sole source of nutrition for the first several months. But to produce it, a mother needs protein. The termite banquet is long gone. Protein has all but disappeared. The weaker infants begin to lose their grip on their mothers. Tiny hands no longer clasp as tightly. But the young mother does not give up. She searches without rest, turning over every stone, inspecting every strip of bark. The entire troop, under the leadership of a dominant male, forages everywhere it can. Fruit, seeds, bird eggs, lizard eggs, anything edible becomes a lifeline in this unforgiving dry season. Vervet monkeys possess 4 entirely distinct alarm calls for 4 different predators: eagles, snakes, leopards, and baboons. Each call triggers a specific defensive response: look up to the sky, look down at the ground, climb a tree, or descend to the ground. When an eagle appears, the entire troop looks skyward and ducks beneath the canopy. When a snake passes through, they leap upward and shriek the alarm. A communication system so sophisticated that few primates outside of humans can rival it. Females remain with the group for life. Males depart upon reaching maturity, joining other troops. This structure preserves genetic diversity across the population. But during the dry season, that social fabric is tested to its limits. Scarce food drives internal competition to a fever pitch. The most vulnerable, always the infants and the nursing mothers, bear the heaviest burden. The rains should have arrived long ago, but El Niño has erased every familiar timetable. If you too have been drawn into this struggle for survival on the African plains, share your thoughts in the comments below. Drought does not merely reshape life on the surface. Beneath the cracked earth, the tactics of predators are changing as well. Every stream has run dry. All that remains are the winding channels of bare earth cutting across the fractured floodplain, the last memories of water that once flowed through this land. Herds of Cape buffalo converge on the Luangwa River, red dust coating their hides and curved horns. Great numbers gather around the final remaining pools. The Luangwa's water level is now a mere fraction of what it holds during the rains. Stretches of river that once ran 10 feet deep now reach only to a buffalo's knee. The sandy riverbed lies exposed under the sun, hot enough to scorch bare skin. Crocodiles find themselves stranded in temporary pools, miles from the main river. When the water drains away entirely, they are forced to leave, trekking slowly on their bellies across the cracked floodplain in search of a path back to the main channel. A silent migration that few ever witness. Ancient reptiles that once ruled the water now dragging themselves under the open sun like refugees on their own territory. All life is being drawn toward one river, and those who arrive first will be waiting. The Great Drought is blanketing the Luangwa Valley in an endless barrenness. Along the shrinking riverbanks, the density of Nile crocodiles reaches the highest concentration in all of Africa, 19 to 24 individuals per mile of river. But crocodiles are not the only ones profiting from the drought. On land, another predator is turning this desolation into an advantage. 'The The dried-out streams have left behind a network of winding, empty channels cutting through the cracked plains trenches waist-deep, concealed behind high earthen banks on either side. For most creatures, these are nothing more than relics of the wet season. But for one experienced leopard kamut, they are the perfect hunting corridors. Before, when water still flowed, the soft mud held every footfall and printed every track. Now the ground is hard as stone, and each of kamut's movements is virtually silent. Ahead, on the lip of the dry channel, a herd of impala searches for the last surviving patches of grass. They raise their heads to scan for danger, then hurry back down to gnaw at the roots clinging to the cracked earth. In the relentless heat, even vigilance slows with each exhausted breath. Kamut lies deep within the dry channel, all but invisible against the grey-brown tones of the surrounding earth. Her golden-brown spotted coat, so conspicuous in the green forest, dissolves entirely into this parched landscape. Experience has taught kamut one thing above all. On dry ground, patience is worth more than speed. Every inch gained is paid for with absolute restraint. She moves so slowly that the dust beneath her paws barely stirs. Her belly pressed flat to the floor of the channel, eyes locked on the target above. The distance narrows, 65 feet, 50, 33. And then, in a single, explosive instant, kamut erupts from the floor of the dry channel. All her power is channeled into that first burst of velocity, coiled muscles releasing like a spring. The impala scatter in panic. Red dust billows upward, obscuring everything. A few powerful bounds. The final distance closes. In a flash, kamut brings down her quarry, while red dust still hangs suspended in the air. In the midst of an unending drought, a successful hunt is not merely food. It is the strength to go on existing while the entire valley slowly withers. Kamut drags the carcass up into a low tree, the instinct of every leopard. On the ground, lions and hyenas can steal a kill, but in the branches, no one can touch her meal. The shade of the canopy screens out the searing sun. Below, the ground radiates heat, and somewhere in the scrub, the footsteps of other hungry creatures are still moving. When the drought reaches its peak, the Luangwa River becomes a colossal magnet. All life is drawn toward this last surviving current. Along every mile of river, Nile crocodiles hold their positions. The total population is estimated at 15,000 individuals across the entire waterway. The largest claim, the most advantageous spots, where the channel narrows, where the banks slope gently for easy access. They tolerate the presence of others, because sooner or later, every thirsty creature must come here. And they wait, with absolute patience. lying motionless beneath the murky surface, only their eyes and nostrils visible, two tiny points on a placid surface that prey seldom recognize until it is far too late. Nile crocodiles can fast for months, but when opportunity arrives, their reaction is among the fastest in the reptilian world. From total stillness to full force attack in a fraction of a second. By November, another phenomenon draws millions more lives toward the river. The sky is all but blotted out by flocks of red-billed quelea. Each bird weighs less than an ounce, lighter than a single chicken egg. But when 2 million individuals move as one, the combined weight exceeds 55 tons. The quelea is the most numerous bird on the planet, its total population estimated at 1.5 billion. When they pass overhead, the sky darkens as if storm clouds have rolled in. The flocks descend upon the riverbank to drink, forming dense grey-white ribbons along the water's edge. The sound of beating wings and calls merges into a continuous roar, like gravel cascading down a hillside. In the depths of the dry season, a food source this vast is almost impossible to ignore. Lions appear along the riverbank not to drink, but to wait for prey that comes to drink. Crocodiles lie submerged beneath the surface. A leopard watches from the branches above. Three apex predators, each with its own strategy, each claiming its own position, yet all converging upon the same point, the last river. The river has become the focal point of the entire food chain. Water, the one thing every living creature needs, has transformed the Luangwa into an open-air arena of nature. The drought has accomplished what no predator ever could, compressing the entire food chain into a single space. The herbivores must come for water, the predators come for the herbivores, and the scavengers come for all of them. Here, wherever life still gathers, predators are never far behind. Each dry season etches another mark upon this land. There are herds that must now travel far greater distances than any generation before them to find water. There are calves that have grown up surrounded by nothing but red dust and relentless heat, never knowing a single cool day. There are predators that survive only by knowing exactly when nature will shift. And there are animals that never return. Their footprints are filled in by red dust. Bleached bones lie scattered along the dry riverbank, the silent remnants of the most brutal dry season in 2 decades. But the drought also creates something no one anticipated, a forced intimacy. When all must share the same water, territorial boundaries dissolve, and encounters that cannot be avoided begin to unfold. But the memory of drought is not only carved into the earth, it is inscribed in the brain of the matriarch, the oldest female elephant, still leading her herd across the northern floodplain. Every dry season she survives becomes another lesson added to her mental map. Which water source dries up first? Which route is safer? Which stretch of land still holds edible roots beneath the parched soil? That memory, passed down through behavior, not through genes, is the most precious thing the elephant herd possesses. But even memory has its limits when a drought stretches beyond all precedent. 6.5 months now. The water still has not returned. The herd presses on across the slowly emptying floodplain, slower, more exhausted, but never stopping. The young calf walks alongside its mother. Its small footprints still press into the red dust, fading with the wind, but not yet gone. In the middle of the dust-covered plain, the matriarch stops. There is no warning sign, no change in the sky. She simply stands motionless, her enormous ears spreading slowly outward, on either side, like two grey sails in a sea of dust. The entire herd halts behind her. Absolute silence, only the sound of hot wind threading through the dry grass. Her trunk rises, testing the air slowly. Not searching for water this time, it is something else. Something traveling through the ground beneath her feet. The matriarch is listening, but not with her ears. Her great feet press firmly against the hard, dry earth. Within the thick, fat pad beneath each heel, where thousands of Pacinian corpuscles reside, a signal is arriving. Microscopic vibrations, traveling through the soil, through the rock, across dozens of miles of parched floodplain. From somewhere far beyond the horizon, beyond what the naked eye can see, the first thunder of the coming rains is transmitting through the earth. Elephants hear with their feet. And today, the matriarch has heard what the entire valley has been waiting for. She turns her head, then begins to walk not toward the river, but toward the horizon from which the signal came. The herd follows. No one questions why. Millions of years of evolution have taught them one thing. When the matriarch moves, you follow. And then, the rains return. The Luangwa Valley awakens to an utterly different morning. The ground is soaked through. Pools of water fill every crack. The air is cooler, heavier, carrying the scent of fresh earth that this land has been waiting for through more than 6 months of silence. Along the riverbank, soft mud still holds the fresh tracks of dozens of species that came to drink at first light. For the first time in months, the ground no longer kicks up red dust beneath every footfall. The Luangwa River begins to rise. Silt-laden water spills into the dry channels, filling every mud wallow, every hollow in the earth. Within hours, stretches of river that had been reduced to bare sand are flowing swiftly once more. The grassland responds almost immediately. Green shoots push up through the dry soil. The mopane woodland bursts into new leaf. The ancient cycle begins to turn again. Life returns. The river flows once more. The valley is reborn again. But the memory of the drought will never fade. It is etched into every slab of dried mud not yet dissolved, in every lost footprint along the parched riverbank, and in every creature that fought to its last breath to endure the longest dry season in living memory. Across the plains of Zambia, the matriarch still leads her herd through dry season and wet her mental map, now holding one more drought, one more lesson. On this savanna, no species truly owns this land forever, and perhaps none ever will. Only those that know how to adapt, when to move, when to fight, when to wait, will continue to survive beneath this unforgiving sun. That is the law the savanna has taught even the lion. The creature at the very top of the food chain must still bow before water, the one thing that tooth and claw can never conquer. That is the law the Luangwa Valley has inscribed into the matriarch's memory. The water will recede, the water will return, and her duty is to keep the herd alive until it does. The matriarch leads her family across the wet grassland. Her grey skin is cleaner now. Months of accumulated red dust washed away by the rain. Each footstep sinks deep into soft mud instead of dry powder. The young calf walks more steadily beside its mother. Its small footprints press into the wet earth clear, sharp, distinct, no longer swept away by the wind. The Luangwa River flows once more. The valley continues to turn according to the most ancient cycle on earth, the cycle of water, of life, and of death. And somewhere beyond the horizon, the next dry season has already quietly begun. Thank you for joining us on Wildverse. The natural world still holds countless stories waiting to be told. We will see you on the next adventure. If stories like these inspire you to explore further, subscribe to Wildverse so you never miss a single journey ahead. Through golden grass, standing shoulder high, 5 silhouettes drift forward, silent, disciplined, each footfall placed with surgical precision. The lioness, weighing between 265 and 400 pounds, is not the fastest creature on the savanna, but she is, perhaps, its greatest strategist. Each lioness holds the same position in every hunt for her entire life. 2 take the flanks encircling, cutting off escape. Those in the center lie flat, waiting for prey to be funneled into the killing zone. This is not chaotic instinct. This is a military formation passed from mother to daughter across thousands of generations. A lion pride is a matriarchal society, a bonded sisterhood of related females who remain together for life. They bear cubs, they hunt, they defend territory while males come and go. A coalition of males may hold a pride for a few years before being overthrown by younger, stronger rivals. The victors sometimes kill the cubs so that the females come into season sooner. The rules of the savanna make no allowance for mercy. Ahead of them, a herd of wildebeest, thousands strong, each animal weighing between 365 and 640 pounds, moves like a living river across the plain. Wildebeest can reach speeds of 50 miles per hour, and they possess an endurance that outlasts every predator on the continent. In the greatest overland migration on Earth, nearly 2 million individuals follow the rains and the green grass between Tanzania and Kenya. But what makes this species truly extraordinary lies in its breeding season. Approximately 500,000 calves are born within a window of just 2 to 3 weeks. Far too many for any predator to consume. This is no accident, it is strategy. A newborn calf stands within 3 to 7 minutes. It runs alongside its mother within hours. On the savanna, there is simply no time for childhood. The lioness launches 35 to 45 miles per hour, but she can sustain that burst for only 330 to 660 feet. After that, her body surrenders. Success rate, a mere 15 to 30%. But in tall grass, that figure quadruples because the wildebeest cannot see death approaching. The hunt ends, but victory does not belong to any individual. It belongs to the pride. The lioness shares the kill with her cubs and with cubs that are not her own. Creche communal nurseries are the foundation upon which the pride endures. A lioness will suckle any cub in the pride. The boundary between birth mother and foster mother is erased because the survival of the group matters more than any single life. But on that very same savanna, another predator, solitary and far more silent, is waiting in the dappled shade beneath the trees. The leopard, weighing between 66 and 200 pounds, is the supreme master of stealth. Its rosette-patterned coat dissolves into the shifting patches of sunlight filtering through the canopy, and 4 paws move without a whisper of sound. It does not chase. It ambushes, closing to within 10 to 33 feet before delivering a lethal strike, with short burst speeds reaching 37 miles per hour. Success rate, approximately 38%, considerably higher than the lion. But the leopard's success always comes with a price, the constant threat of theft. Lions steal. Hyenas steal. Any creature with superior strength can arrive and claim the meal that the leopard earned in blood. And so the leopard does something no other great cat can match. It hauls prey, weighing up to 10 times its own body weight, into a tree, intact, in broad daylight. Tree caching, the behavior of hoisting kills into the branches, is no redundant instinct. It is the solitary hunter's answer to a world full of thieves. The leopard lives alone, marking its territory with urine and claw marks scored into tree bark. Males command vast ranges that overlap the territories of several females, yet they almost never encounter one another, except during the brief intensity of mating season. The lioness dominates through collective power. The leopard dominates through absolute solitude. The same ecosystem, but strategies in complete opposition: the pack against the phantom, brute force against cunning. But on that savanna, there is a third hunter, smaller even than the leopard, yet boasting a success rate that every other predator must envy. The African wild dog, weighing a modest 44 to 66 pounds, diminutive among giants, achieves a hunting success rate of 60 to 90%, the highest in all of Africa. No two wild dogs look alike. Their mottled coats, splashed with white, black, and tawny brown, resemble paintings dashed off by nature on a whim. It is why their scientific name is Lycaon pictus, the painted wolf. The pack operates as a family. The alpha pair breeds, and the entire pack, from 6 to 20 individuals, raises the pups together. Food is shared. The weak are protected. Here, solidarity is not a choice, it is the condition of survival. Their strategy: no ambush, no stealth, but pure, relentless endurance. Running at 37 to 43 miles per hour, they take turns leading the chase until the wildebeest is utterly spent. Three hunters, one prey. The lion, collective ambush, 15 to 30%. The leopard, solitary stealth, 38%. The wild dog, relentless pursuit, 60 to 90%. But success on the savanna is not measured by the hunt alone. Lions routinely steal kills from wild dogs, which is precisely why the leopard must cache its prey in the trees, and why wild dogs must eat as quickly as they possibly can. And before every hunt, the wild dog pack performs a ritual that science has only recently decoded. They vote by sneezing. Research published in the Proceedings of the Royal Society confirmed it. Each sneeze is a ballot. Enough votes and the pack moves out. The alpha's vote carries greater weight, requiring fewer sneezes to launch the hunt. But the African wild dog faces a darkening future. The IUCN classifies them as endangered, with only approximately 6,600 individuals remaining in fewer than 700 packs. Yet the grand theatre of predator and prey does not end on the African grasslands. "8,000 miles across the Atlantic, there stretches the largest tropical wetland on the planet, where the rules are written not in grass and dust, but in water.
The haze recedes, giving way to a green carpet, yet one rife with peril. Instinct compels millions of hooves to begin the greatest migration on the planet. In the rain, the line between hunter and hunted becomes perilously thin. A new chapter of survival begins, where life is paid for in blood. A young male lion walks alone across the grasslands, bearing the air of one just exiled from his pride. He is now a solitary nomad, a king without a kingdom, searching for a chance to survive in the vast savanna. The downpours have drenched his mane, adding weight to a body already weakened by long days of hunger. Yet, beneath the bruised, thundering sky, a momentous change is unfolding on the sodden earth. The horizon itself seems to shift, vibrating with the arrival of tens of thousands of migrating wildebeest and zebra. These vast herds have journeyed hundreds of miles, drawn by the call of thunderstorms to these green and mineral-rich lands.
After the rain, the valley's sky brightens, heralding a moment of life or death for the lone lion in the path of the Great Migration. This is more than a spectacle of nature. It is his final hope for survival. The lion conceals himself in the tall grass, lowering his center of gravity, his eyes locked on a stray zebra. He explodes from cover like an arrow, but the pounce misses by a whisker as his prey reacts in time. The zebra herd vanishes in a cloud of dust, leaving the exhausted hunter standing alone in the immense field. Failure has drained his last reserves of strength, but it cannot extinguish the will of a deposed king. He rises wearily, moving on with patience to await another chance that fate may grant him.
In another corner of the savanna, a different master of the hunt is using the rain to its own advantage. The cheetah, the fastest creature on land, is crouched low amidst tall, emerald grasses. Unlike the lion, it does not rely on brute force, but wagers everything on precision and staggering speed. Its target is a gazelle, absorbed in grazing on the tender new shoots, entirely unaware of the death that stalks it. Each paw is placed with infinite care, disturbing not a single drop of water on the blades of grass. A golden blur erupts from the stillness, the cheetah reaching its top speed in mere seconds to close in on the unsuspecting gazelle. The gazelle jinks desperately across the wet ground, but the precision of the planet's fastest hunter is absolute. A perfectly timed swipe at the hind legs sends the prey tumbling, and the chase ends abruptly in a spray of mud and rainwater. The cheetah pauses, its chest heaving violently, desperately replenishing the oxygen spent in its phenomenal effort. On the rainy savanna, speed may secure a meal, but the price is utter exhaustion. It must consume its prize quickly, before the scent of blood attracts larger, more powerful claimants. In the cheetah's world, every moment is a race against time and the very limits of its own body. The rains have turned the grasslands into a lush garden, yet such abundance is never enough for millions of hungry mouths. The Great Migration has now become a colossal wave of life, moving with a single, unyielding purpose. Tens of thousands of wildebeest and zebra converge into a thundering mass of muscle stretching to the very horizon. Their ceaseless calls create a strange wall of sound, a primal chorus of anxiety and determination. At the heart of this turmoil are calves, only a few months old, struggling to keep up with the herd's relentless pace. All are heading towards the greatest obstacle of their journey, the one boundary that separates them from the fertile pastures of the north. This is the legendary Mara River. In the dry season, it can be little more than a shallow stream, but the heavy rains have transformed it into a furious, silt-red torrent. The scent of fresh grass from the far bank drifts on the wind, an irresistible invitation down a treacherous path. The herds gather on the steep banks, hesitating, intimidated by the power of the raging current at their feet. The pressure from behind mounts as thousands more arrive, pushing the leaders ever closer to the slippery precipice. Instinct warns them of the imminent danger, but hunger and the ancestral urge to move are stronger than any fear. There is no retreat, for the momentum of 1,000,000 lives is a force that cannot be halted by reason. This is a moment of supreme tension, where a single, desperate leap will decide the fate of thousands of others. Beneath the murky surface, immense dark shapes begin to stir, silently awaiting the greatest feast of the year. Finally, the pent-up tension on the Mara's bank exceeds the herd's endurance, as an old wildebeest, forced by the pressure from thousands behind, makes the fateful leap into the torrent. Instantly, a living waterfall follows, turning the already violent river into a maelstrom of chaos and spray. Beneath the turbid water, giant Nile crocodiles, creatures that have survived since the time of the dinosaurs, begin their patient hunt. They have no need for speed. The current and the crush of bodies deliver their prey directly into the path of their armored jaws. These predators have waited an entire year for this moment, and now they move like ghosts through the silt-laden water. A young zebra, separated from its mother, struggles for a foothold amongst the slick rocks and churning waves. In a flash, a cavernous snout erupts, clamping onto its target with a terrifying force of thousands of pounds. The struggle is brief, played out beneath the murky surface, where the notorious death roll extinguishes all hope of escape. Around them, thousands of others continue to trample over one another, swimming frantically towards the steep bank on the opposite side. Those wildebeest that escape the crocodile's jaws face another trial, climbing the sheer, slippery mud banks created by the rain. The weight of their waterlogged bodies and sheer exhaustion cause many to lose their footing, tumbling back into the river's deadly embrace. Many of the exhausted are simply swept downstream, where scavengers await an easy, delivered meal. The cries of the herd and the roar of the water create a tragic symphony, marking the harshest moment of their 1,000-mile journey. The Nile crocodiles take only a fraction, but their toll is the unavoidable price paid for the rest of the herd to continue its lineage. The river's surface is slowly stained with silt and blood, a testament to one of nature's most brutal dramas of survival. As the last of the animals scramble ashore, there is no time to look back. Instinct still urges them ever onward. The Mara River flows on, carrying with it the memory of the life and death struggle that has just concluded in its crimson waters. The survivors can now enjoy the rewards of their journey-rich pastures that will begin a new cycle of recovery and growth. This harsh balance is the very engine that has kept the heart of the Serengeti beating for millions of years. Water brings life, but it is also the ultimate arbiter, a law of iron that exists far beyond these East African plains. But the power of water is not confined to this place. It is part of a global pulse that now leads us across an ocean to a mesmerizing flooded labyrinth in South America, the Pantanal.
"10 million caimans, 68,000 square miles of wetland, and one rule above all others: adapt or vanish." This is the Pantanal at the peak of the dry season, when the earth cracks open like aged leather, when hundreds of rivers shrink to their final muddy pools. Yacaré caimans lie stacked upon one another, hundreds crammed into a single shrinking pond. They are nearly motionless, conserving every last calorie for a siege that will drag on for months. Some will bury themselves in the mud, slipping into a state of torpor that can last weeks on end. Others drag their armored bodies across the parched ground, searching for any water that remains. Not all of them will survive. But the Pantanal is far more than a story of caimans. The largest freshwater wetland on Earth spans 3 nations: Brazil, Bolivia, and Paraguay. More than 650 bird species, nearly 300 mammal species, and over 400 species of fish coexist across a landscape half the size of France. Here, every creature holds a link in the vast machinery that nature has assembled over millions of years. The question is not who is strongest, but who adapts best. Welcome to Wildverse, where we explore the most extraordinary stories the natural world has to offer. Today, Wildverse ventures into the heart of the Pantanal to witness the pulse of an ecosystem that UNESCO has recognized as a World Heritage Site. But when the waters retreat, who truly holds power here? The answer is not what anyone expects. As the sun scorches the floodplain and rivers contract like veins running dry, one species still walks calmly through the parched grassland. The capybara, the largest rodent on Earth. Weighing up to 140 pounds, the capybara resembles a fur-covered boulder drifting unhurriedly across the savanna. Its short legs are surprisingly quick. Its small eyes sit high on its head, perfectly adapted for watching the world while submerged. They live in large groups, 20, 30, sometimes more, always clustered together, like a family gathering that never ends. This social structure is no accident. In a land where predators lurk at every turn, collective vigilance is the only shield they possess. When one detects danger, a sharp alarm bark rings out, and the entire herd plunges into the water. Webbed feet transform capybaras into remarkably capable swimmers. They can hold their breath underwater for minutes at a time, exposing only their eyes and nostrils above the surface, a living periscope. Each day, a capybara consumes 6 to 8 pounds of grasses and aquatic plants. This ceaseless grazing reshapes the vegetation of the Pantanal, opening gaps for seedlings to sprout and sunlight to reach the forest floor. At dawn and dusk, they leave the water's edge to feed. In the fierce midday heat, they wallow in mud or rest beneath the shade. This rhythm is as reliable as clockwork, and every predator in the Pantanal knows the schedule by heart. But the capybara's most important role lies not in what it eats, but in being eaten. It is the cornerstone prey for nearly every large predator in the Pantanal. And the most formidable of them all is watching the herd from the opposite riverbank. Golden fur, marked with dark rosettes. This is the jaguar, the largest cat in the Americas and the undisputed ruler of the Pantanal. Pantanal jaguars are the largest individuals of their entire species. A mature male can weigh up to 300 pounds heavier than any jaguar in Central America. Unlike its relatives, the lion or the Asian tiger, the jaguar has a stockier build, a broader skull, and shorter jaws. This body design is no coincidence. It was forged by evolution for a single purpose. A bite force of 1500 psi, the most powerful of any cat relative to body size. Enough to crush a skull, punch through a turtle shell, and pierce the armored hide of a caiman. Where a lion strangles its prey, the jaguar chooses a more devastating method. A single bite to the skull. One strike. It is over. The Pantanal holds the highest jaguar density on Earth, roughly 6 to 7 individuals per 40 square miles. Nowhere else on the planet offers a better chance of observing this cat in the wild. That rosette pattern is more than beautiful. It is a flawless camouflage map. Among thick forest and flooded marshland, the jaguar dissolves into the landscape. Prey recognize its presence only when it is already too late. What sets Pantanal jaguars apart is that they swim, and they swim well. No other big cat on the planet is as comfortable in water as the jaguar. They wade across rivers, dive into marshes, and ambush yacaré caimans in the reptile's own domain. A lightning strike canine is driven into the base of the skull, and a 6-foot caiman is hauled ashore in under 10 seconds. But the jaguar is more than a killer. By controlling capybara and caiman populations, it maintains the fragile equilibrium upon which the entire Pantanal depends. Without the jaguar, capybaras multiply unchecked. Grasslands are stripped bare, soil erodes, and the flood cycle, the very heartbeat of the Pantanal, breaks down. Scientists call this a trophic cascade. When an apex species vanishes, every layer beneath it collapses in turn. Tragically, this magnificent cat is under threat. Habitat loss, conflict with cattle ranchers, and poaching have driven populations into decline. The IUCN lists the jaguar as near threatened. Across Latin America, its historical range has contracted by more than 50%. Protecting the jaguar, therefore, is not merely about saving one species. It is about safeguarding the entire web of life it governs. But power in the Pantanal does not belong to the land alone. Along the flowing waterways, where the jaguar sometimes still prowls, another predator reigns supreme. The giant otter, known as arirana in Portuguese, is the largest member of the weasel family on Earth. Stretching nearly 6 feet from nose to tail, its muscular body clad in short, dark brown fur, the arirana is built for speed beneath the surface. Unlike the solitary jaguar, giant otters live as families. Groups of 3 to 8, sometimes as many as 20, are led by a dominant breeding pair. They are born cooperative hunters. Underwater, they encircle schools of fish in coordinated formations, not unlike a wolf pack driving prey across the steppe, except the battlefield lies beneath the surface. Few communication systems in the animal kingdom rival that of the giant otter, more than 22 distinct vocalizations. From piercing alarm screams, to soft contact whistles, to deep-throated growls, aimed at intruders, each sound carries a specific message. Fish make up most of their diet, but giant otters will not hesitate to confront young caimans. Using a strategy of swarming and simultaneous attack, the group can drive off a caiman 3 times their own size. A broad, flattened tail serves as a rudder, allowing the otter to change direction in an instant while chasing piranha along the riverbed. Yet the strength of numbers cannot protect the giant otter from the gravest threat it faces. The IUCN classifies this species as endangered. Fewer than 5,000 individuals remain in the wild. Water pollution, deforestation, and illegal gold mining are poisoning the very rivers they depend upon. Mercury from mining operations accumulates in fish and then in the otters themselves. Giant otter health mirrors the health of the waterways. When the otters disappear, it is a sign that the river itself is dying. But danger in the Pantanal does not come only from the water. Onshore, beneath the forest canopy, another predator is on the move. Silent enough that not even the dry leaves betray its step. The puma, also known as the cougar or mountain lion, is the wild cat with the widest range in the Western Hemisphere. From the snow-capped peaks of Canada to the wind-swept tip of Patagonia, no cat has conquered more habitats than the puma. In the Pantanal, the puma lives in the jaguar's shadow, smaller, lighter, but no less dangerous. A uniform coat, ranging from tawny beige to ashen grey, allows the puma to blend into any landscape. Dense forest or dry grassland, flooded marsh or highland plateau, all of it is puma territory. A solitary hunter, the puma relies on ambush and explosive speed over short distances. One precise leap, one blinding pounce, and a capybara or marsh deer has no chance to react. A single puma's territory can span dozens of square miles. It patrols ceaselessly, traversing its boundaries each night. Claw marks on tree trunks and scent markings speak a wordless language, warning every intruder that this ground is claimed. Puma and jaguar coexisting in the Pantanal is remarkably rare proof that this ecosystem is rich enough to sustain two apex cats at once. But the forest floor of the Pantanal belongs to more than big cats. Beneath the canopy, smaller but no less vital inhabitants are beginning their day. The coati, a relative of the North American raccoon, emerges in bands of 4 to 30, its long, flexible snout forever probing the soil. That snout is the ultimate multi-tool, sniffing out insects hidden beneath the earth, overturning roots, and extracting scorpions that other species dare not touch. Coatis are also exceptional climbers. Sharp claws and a long tail carry them up and down tree trunks with ease. That tail serves as a balancing pole on slender branches, much like the staff of a tightrope walker. Coati social life is surprisingly complex. Bands communicate constantly through chirps, grunts, and whistles. When threatened, they unleash piercing screams, and the entire group may band together to drive off an attacker, even a snake. Adult males typically live alone outside the band. They return only during the mating season, then depart once more, wandering the forest in solitude. Sharing the canopy with the coati is the capuchin monkey, one of the most intelligent primates in South America. The capuchin uses dexterous hands and a prehensile tail that grips like a coil of rope to move through the treetops. Its speed through the canopy is impressive, but what makes the capuchin truly remarkable is not speed, it is intelligence. They have been documented using stones to crack open hard nuts and palm fruits, one of the very few primates outside the great apes capable of tool use. Each stone is chosen with care, not too heavy to lift, not too light to generate force. Each strike is a small calculation in physics that many scientists believe has been passed down through generations by observation and imitation. Living in complex social groups, capuchins communicate through a diverse system of calls and gestures. They share the location of food, warn of danger, and groom one another within the troop, a miniature society suspended in the treetops. By eating fruit and dispersing seeds, both coatis and capuchins play an invisible but essential role, the unwitting gardeners of the Pantanal forest. If you find the intelligence of the wild as captivating as we do, share your thoughts in the comments below. But if the coati and capuchin represent restless energy, the next species represents something entirely opposite the raw power of sound. Before the sun clears the treetops, a deep, resonant boom rolls through the forest low, reverberating like a war drum from a distant land. It is the call of the howler monkey. That sound pierces through the canopy and carries up to 3 miles, one of the loudest calls of any land animal on Earth. The secret lies in the hyoid bone, a U-shaped structure unusually enlarged within the throat. It functions as a natural resonance chamber, amplifying the call many times beyond what the animal's size would suggest. But here is the surprise. That earth-shaking roar is not an act of aggression. It is a weapon of peace. By broadcasting their location through sound, howler troops avoid direct physical conflict, conserving energy in an environment where every calorie counts. A curious study revealed that howler species with larger hyoid bones tend to have smaller testes, and vice versa. Evolution forced a choice: invest in the voice or invest in reproduction. Black and gold howlers in the Pantanal live in small troops, feeding primarily on leaves, flowers, and fruit. They move less than capuchins, spending most of their time on the highest branches, where safety is greatest. Adult males wear a coat of pure black. Females and juveniles are draped in golden fur. This striking contrast gives the species its name, the black and gold howler, as though one animal wears two entirely different costumes. Their call awakens the forest each dawn and closes each dusk, the essential soundtrack of the Pantanal. It connects the forest floor to the canopy, silence to sound, reminding every creature that this forest is still breathing. And as the last echoes of the howler fade among the leaves, a streak of brilliant blue cuts across the sky. Vivid enough that the entire forest seems to look up. The hyacinth macaw, known locally as Ara azul, is the largest flying parrot in the world, with a wingspan exceeding 4 feet. Plumage of deep cobalt blue, a ring of bright yellow around each eye, and the base of its beak, the hyacinth macaw is a masterpiece that nature spent millions of years perfecting. They typically appear in pairs or small flocks, flying with powerful wing beats while projecting resonant calls. Those calls slice through the stillness of the Pantanal's dawn, and dusk a sound at once wild and ceremonial. The hyacinth macaw mates for life. The bond between each pair is so strong that they are seldom more than a few yards apart. Even while foraging, they fly wing to wing, two parallel streaks of blue gliding across the sky. Their primary food is the nut of the acuri, and bocayuva palm seeds so hard that only the macaw's enormous beak can crack them. That crushing force can split nuts. A hammer would need several blows to open. Every meal is an exercise in raw power. But there is a troubling truth. Only approximately 6,500 hyacinth macaws remain in the wild. The IUCN lists them as vulnerable. Illegal pet trade and habitat destruction have pushed this species toward the edge. The Pantanal is their last stronghold, home to roughly 76% of the entire global hyacinth macaw population. Lose the Pantanal, and we will almost certainly lose the hyacinth macaw forever. Sharing the canopy with the macaw, another bird commands attention with a beak unlike any other, the toucan. A brilliant orange bill, stretching nearly half its body length, yet astonishingly light. Its hollow interior resembles a honeycomb, both structurally sound and virtually weightless, an engineering masterwork of evolution. That bill is not merely for picking fruit. Scientists have discovered it also functions as a biological radiator. Blood flowing through a network of capillaries across the bill's surface allows the toucan to shed excess body heat at night, a natural cooling fan. Toucans feed on fruit, insects, and occasionally the eggs of smaller birds. When eating, they toss fruit into the air and snatch it mid-flight like a juggler in a circus. Undigested seeds are deposited far from the feeding site, spreading new growth throughout the forest. Toucans do not fly far. They hop from branch to branch with short bursts of flight, flashing their glossy black plumage and multicolored bill. That bill is like a moving flag among the green canopy, unmistakable from a distance. Lower down, in the denser reaches of the forest, a chorus of chatter rises, but it is not human. The green parrot, known as the Papagayo verdadero, is among the finest vocal mimics on the planet. Vivid green plumage accented with blue at the wings, the green parrot lives in lively flocks. They constantly share food and alert one another. Every call carries meaning, from danger warnings to announcements of a new food source. A strong, curved beak serves as a specialized tool, cracking open tough seed casings that other birds cannot manage. They feed on seeds, fruit, and flowers, playing an essential role in seed dispersal and the regeneration of the forest canopy. These three birds, the hyacinth macaw, the toucan, and the green parrot, do more than bring color to the Pantanal. They are its silent architects, renewing the forest each day by scattering seeds across the landscape. But that brilliant blue is fading. And it is not only the birds. The entire ecosystem faces a threat this story will soon reveal. Leaving the forest canopy, stepping out onto the vast open grasslands, a realm where nothing can hide. Speed is the only currency of value here. The great rhea, the largest bird in the Americas, strides across the Pantanal grasslands with the confidence of an animal that knows it has few rivals. This is a flightless bird, but it compensates with a running speed of up to 37 miles per hour. Enough to outpace most predators. And when running, its large wings spread wide like sails, providing balance through sudden turns. In the rhea, the rules of gender are completely reversed. The male incubates the eggs. The male raises the chicks. The female lays her clutch and moves on sometimes to the territory of another male to lay again. A single male rhea may incubate up to 50 eggs, at once contributed by several different females. Each egg weighs roughly 1.5 pounds. He sits motionless on the nest for 6 weeks, rarely leaving even to eat. Newly hatched chicks follow their father immediately, a tiny convoy trailing a giant standing nearly 5 feet tall. It resembles a peculiar parade crossing the endless grassland. Its diet is varied: leaves, seeds, insects, even small lizards. By consuming seeds and ranging widely, they disperse plant species across the plains, maintaining the botanical diversity that the grassland depends upon to survive. But on the open plains, the rhea is not the only ruler. The shadow of broad wings passes over the ground. Slow, confident, in no hurry at all. The caracara, a bird of the falcon family that behaves nothing like a falcon, is the shrewdest opportunist in the Pantanal sky. Dark plumage, in sharp contrast with a pale face and a powerful hooked beak, the caracara could easily be mistaken for an eagle. But it is far more pragmatic than any eagle. The caracara both hunts and scavenges, taking mice and lizards as readily as carcasses baked by the sun. It will even walk along the ground searching for food, unusual behavior for a raptor, but remarkably effective. This adaptability allows the caracara to thrive in any condition, from flooded wetlands to scorched grasslands. Intelligence and flexibility enable it to exploit food sources that other raptors overlook entirely. By consuming carrion, the caracara serves as nature's cleanup crew, preventing the spread of disease and keeping the ecosystem clean. An unglamorous job, but an indispensable one. Rhea on the ground, caracara in the sky. Two species, two strategies, but a single purpose: sustaining life across the boundless plains. And then, as if the Pantanal knows when it must save itself, dark clouds gather along the horizon. The rains return. Water pours down from the Brazilian highlands, surging through thousands of rivers, filling every crack in the parched earth. Within weeks, the Pantanal is transformed. The mud pools where caimans lay stacked in desperation are now vast, gleaming lakes. 10 million caimans disperse once more. Each reclaims its own territory. Each begins a new cycle of hunting. Capybaras return to the riverbanks. Giant otters raise their voices in greeting. Jaguars withdraw into deeper forest, where prey is more scattered, but the water runs cooler. Hyacinth macaws cut across clear skies. Howler monkeys greet the new dawn. with their thunderous chorus. Toucans hop among rain-washed branches. The pulse of the Pantanal, the flood and the drought, is not a catastrophe. It is the self-correcting mechanism that this ecosystem has operated for millions of years. Each rise and fall renews, cleanses, and rebalances everything. Every species here, from the smallest caiman to the dominant jaguar, is synchronized to that pulse. When one link is damaged, the entire system shudders. What do you think makes the Pantanal so awe-inspiring? Let Wildverse know in the comments below. But that pulse is faltering. In 2020, the Pantanal suffered the worst wildfire disaster in modern recorded history. "30% of its surface was incinerated, nearly 4.5 million acres reduced to ash in a matter of weeks. And perhaps that is the lesson the Pantanal offers us, that true greatness lies not in the power of the largest, but in the harmony among all. Thank you for joining Wildverse. The natural world still holds countless stories waiting to be told. We will see you on the next adventure. Two seasons, two entirely different worlds, and between them, a survival experiment lasting millions of years with no guiding hand. What holds this fragile web of life from collapsing when the very ground beneath it changes completely twice each year? Welcome to Wildverse, where we explore the most extraordinary stories the natural world has kept hidden. Before we venture deeper into this land, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a journey with Wildverse. And let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? But to understand Liuwa, you must first meet the species that vanished from it, then returned from nothing. As the first light of dawn touches the tips of the grass, a deep roar rises from the east, carrying across 5 miles of open plain, unstoppable. Lions. For decades, they had vanished from Liuwa. Poaching and illegal hunting in the 1990s wiped out the entire lion population here. By 2002, only a single individual remained. Lady Liuwa, the last lioness. She wandered the empty savanna for years, a solitary figure in a vast landscape where no answering roar ever came. Researchers recounted how she would seek out the glow of human campfires, lying down beside smoldering coals as though the warmth of another species might soothe her loneliness. Her story, brought to the screen by National Geographic in 2010 as The Last Lioness, became a global symbol of ecological loss and of hope. In 2008, African parks began reintroducing lions from Kafue National Park. Lady Liua could not bear cubs of her own, but she adopted and helped raise the offspring of the newly arrived females. She passed away in August 2017 at the age of 17. Her legacy, the new pride, lives on. Among them stood Bon Jovi, a striking male with a thick, dark mane named after the legendary rock star. He reclaimed territory, marking the return of the roar to plains that had fallen silent. Though Bon Jovi was later relocated to Kafue due to conflict with local communities, his story proved that nature can recover if humans allow it. Today, more than 20 lions hold stable territories across Liua, a living testament to the power of conservation. Lions live in prides, typically 1 or 2 adult males, several related females, and their cubs. They are the only large cat capable of tactical cooperation in both hunting and territorial defense. During the dry season, when the food chain is stretched to its limit, lions rely on pack strength and ambush tactics, especially at waterholes, where thirst dulls the vigilance of prey. A fact rarely mentioned. It is the lionesses who drive every strategic hunt. They coordinate ambushes with near mathematical precision, favoring twilight or early dawn. The males, with their heavy manes, seldom participate directly. Their primary role is territory defense, maintaining bloodlines, and confronting external threats. A thick mane is not merely attractive to females, it serves as a biological shield, protecting the neck during brutal territorial battles. The lion's roar, one of the most iconic sounds of the savanna, carries up to 5 miles, declaring the presence and dominion of the apex predator. Yet, despite this coordination, only 20 to 30% of attacks end in success. Every failure carries consequences. Prolonged starvation threatens the pride, especially cubs too young to participate. But in Liuwa, lions are not the dominant force. With an estimated 200 to 300 individuals, spotted hyenas are the true power of these plains. Contrary to their popular image as scavengers, modern behavioral ecology reveals that over 70% of a spotted hyena's diet comes from prey they hunt themselves. Across many ecosystems, their hunting success rate reaches roughly 1 in 3 equal to or exceeding lions under the same conditions. The secret lies in the jaw. A spotted hyena's bite force is sufficient to crush large bones, horns, even hooves, materials most predators must abandon. The ability to digest nearly the entire carcass, including calcium from bone, makes them the most efficient link in the ecosystem's nutrient recycling chain. Their hunting tactics are remarkably flexible. They can hunt solo, in pairs, or coordinate in small teams of 4 to 6. In special circumstances, such as the wildebeest calving season, dozens converge to apply pressure and fragment herds, isolating the most vulnerable targets. Siege and harassment behavior, particularly frequent in January and February at Liuwa, when conditions favor optimal hunting, attests to their exceptional tactical cooperation. Spotted hyena society follows an absolute matriarchal hierarchy, one of the most complex social ranking systems among mammals. Each clan can number up to 80 individuals. Females hold complete authority. Even the lowest-ranking female outranks the highest-ranking male. Rank is determined not by strength alone, but by lineage. Daughters of high-ranking females automatically inherit privileged status, a form of dynastic power rare in the natural world. Their communication system surpasses that of any other predator, over 11 distinct vocalizations, spanning an impressively broad emotional spectrum. The characteristic laugh signals submission. Moaning and high-pitched calls transmit complex social information across miles of grassland. Spotted hyenas thrive across diverse terrain, from open savanna to sparse woodland, and semi-arid zones active both day and night, each clan's territory extending up to nearly 400 square miles. But even the rulers of the plains must yield to what is coming the dry season. The dry season descends on Liwa without warning. Water evaporates, earth cracks. The temperatures swing between day and night, climbs to nearly 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And on that scorched earth, a faint paw print barely visible, the sole evidence of the most solitary hunter on the plains. The cheetah, the fastest land animal on Earth. Its body is an engineering masterpiece. 40 million years of evolution, sculpted for a single purpose: speed. A long, hyperflexible spine functions like a coiled spring, stretching and compressing with each stride to maximize reach. Long, slender legs operate as precision levers. Semi-retractable claws, unlike any other cat's, grip the ground like a sprinter's cleats. This delivers superior traction through every turn and burst of acceleration, each stride a perfect equation of speed and control. "70 miles per hour, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds faster than most supercars on the planet. But that speed exacts a price. Each chase lasts less than a minute and rarely exceeds 1,000 feet. Peak velocity drives body temperature to dangerous thresholds, forcing mandatory rest after every pursuit, regardless of outcome. On its coat, every black spot against tawny fur is unique, like a fingerprint. No two individuals are identical. These markings also aid recognition within small hunting groups across open terrain. The large, rounded ears not only capture distant sounds with remarkable clarity, but also assist in heat dissipation, a vital advantage under Liwa's scorching sun. Here, only a handful of cheetahs have been recorded. Faint prints in fine dust are sometimes the only proof of their existence. In a landscape of deepening drought and intensifying competition, the cheetah's survival stands as the purest example of specialized evolution, where speed and strategy converge into a supreme art. Beneath the cloudless dry season sky, a wingspan exceeding 8 feet glides slowly through scorching air, as though the vastness above were merely a familiar stage for its patrols. The martial eagle, Africa's largest eagle. With a body length approaching 3 feet 8 inches and weight up to 14 pounds, that imposing frame is paired with talon grip strong enough to fracture a human forearm. But its most remarkable feature is not size, it is vision. In the clear conditions of Liuwa's dry season, a martial eagle can detect prey from nearly 4 miles. A detection range virtually unmatched by any other predator in the ecosystem. When the calculation is perfect, it descends in a stoop, reaching 100 miles per hour. 2 feet strike like javelins launched from above, precise and merciless. During the dry season, as prey ranges farther in search of water, the martial eagle extends its hunting territory significantly, flying dozens of miles each day while maintaining cautious distance from human activity. Even atop the aerial food chain, the martial eagle is not immune to extinction. As of the IUCN's 2024 assessment, classified endangered. Causes are multifaceted. Habitat loss from agricultural expansion, collisions with power infrastructure, secondary poisoning from contaminated carcasses, and persecution, often rooted in the mistaken belief they threaten livestock. With slow reproduction and vast territorial needs, even minor environmental changes can carry severe consequences for the species' survival. As the eagle completes its stoop, the grassland sinks into weighted silence. Below, against dried grass stretching to the horizon, a massive form moves with quiet, immovable strength. The African buffalo, weighing up to nearly 2,000 pounds, standing almost 5.5 feet at the shoulder, the embodiment of collective endurance. Curved horns form a solid bone plate called the boss, shielding the skull in combat and becoming lethal weaponry against any natural enemy. Unlike wildebeest or zebra, buffalo do not leave Liuwa seasonally. They move laterally within the landscape from higher ground to wherever fresh grass sprouts after rain. Their routes are guided by accumulated experience and the collective memory of the oldest members, an invisible map, accurate down to every stream. Smell is the critical sense. Buffalo detect water and identify threats from over a mile away, allowing the entire herd to adjust course before danger draws near. Social structure is built on cohesion and tight coordination. Each herd may number from a few dozen to over 300, led by the patience and wisdom of its most senior members. When confronted by danger, they do not scatter. Instead, a living fortress forms. The largest males front the line, shielding females and calves at the center. Multiple cases of lions killed during coordinated counterattacks have been documented, testament to collective power and protective instincts passed through generations. Each adult consumes approximately 33 pounds of dry grass per day, the fuel required to sustain that massive frame. Large-scale grazing controls vegetation height, creating pathways for ground-nesting birds and smaller herbivores. And then, amidst a grassland on the verge of transformation, the first raindrops fall. The wet season arrives, but it brings no safety. It brings an entirely different kind of danger. Water rises. Dry grassland converts into a vast wetland system. And in this half-water, half-land world, one species has been ready all along. The red lechwe born to live between two worlds. With long, narrow hooves, the red lechwe glides through mud with almost surreal lightness, as though its very existence was shaped for this terrain. Dark markings on the forelegs stand out like symbols painted by nature itself, helping individuals recognize each other through mist and the chorus of frogs blanketing the plain. At Liuwa, approximately 700 red lechwe live year-round. Unlike wildebeest, they do not migrate far but adjust position by water level. They advance as fresh grass sprouts at the water's edge, retreating when floods submerge the plains entirely. Adult males stand about 4 feet tall and weigh around 265 pounds. Their coats carry a natural waterproofing oil that maintains body temperature even during hours of immersion in cold floodwaters. When pursued by predators, the entire herd plunges into deep water, a tactic few hunters dare follow. In water, red lechwe move with speed and agility, causing pursuers to lose traction, momentum, or abandon the chase altogether. They rely not on raw speed or brute strength, but on mastery of environment, knowing how to flow with the current, selecting the right grasses, and avoiding treacherous depths. Their peaceful coexistence with zebra and wildebeest, without direct competition, reinforces lechwe's role as an essential link in the wetland ecosystem. They regulate aquatic plant biomass and create safe corridors for waterbirds. And in the rising muddy waters, from the horizon 45,000 silhouettes slowly materialize. The second largest terrestrial migration in Africa, surpassed only by the millions flowing across the Serengeti and Mara. Wildebeest do not wait for rain to move. They sense the shift before the first storm through moisture in the wind, distant thunder, and subtle changes in the resonance of the earth beneath their hooves. This migration is not a random journey. It is an annual cycle encoded across countless generations. Every strip of land, every patch of grass, every waterhole already remembered by ancestors from millennia past. They traverse waterlogged depressions and cross streams along routes cutting through the Liwa floodplain. Though shorter than the famous Serengeti migration, the path here is no less perilous. Predators are always watching. The deep, characteristic call of the males carries over a mile, an acoustic signal cutting through grassland to maintain herd contact. Beyond sound, they use scent trails from interdigital glands on their feet, combined with urine and dung to delineate territory and reinforce social bonds. When danger strikes, the herd forms a defensive circle by instinct calves at the center, adults facing outward. The movement resembles a tornado, sweeping across the flooded plain, visually striking, yet deeply strategic. Without a single leader, they rely on constant mutual observation. Ecologists call it swarm intelligence, a biological mechanism allowing response to threats as a unified organism. At the end of the wet season, breeding begins. After approximately 8.5 months of gestation, females give birth just as the grassland starts to dry. Wider sight lines across drying plains, sharpened predator detection timing birth to terrain is no accident. Within minutes of birth, a calf stands. Shortly after, it runs alongside its mother, a biological imperative for a species whose life is defined by perpetual motion. The wildebeest is the tireless gardener of the savanna. By cropping short grass, they create space for taller grasses and shrubs to flourish elsewhere. Continuous movement supports soil regeneration and nutrient cycling. When an individual falls, its body does not mark an ending. It triggers countless new food chains. The last breath of a wildebeest continues to sustain lions, vultures, and the very earth itself. If this migration has captivated you, share with Wildverse in the comments. What makes Liuwa so remarkable to you? Alongside the wildebeest, plains zebra appear in impressive numbers during the wet season, thousands converging from the park's edges toward the center seeking fresh grass. Unlike the wildebeest's strategic endurance, zebra rely on rigid social structure and keen observational skills to survive. They live in small, stable units called harems, one dominant stallion, several mares, and their foals. This is the fundamental building block of zebra society. Each individual carries a completely unique stripe pattern, like a fingerprint, no two alike. Science has studied their thermoregulatory potential through air convection between heat-absorbing dark and heat-reflecting light zones. Stripes also create visual confusion for blood-sucking insects, making landing difficult, a subtle evolutionary advantage few species possess. Adults weigh between 485 and 660 pounds, standing 4 to 4.5 feet at the shoulder. Gestation lasts 12 to 13 months. Foals are born at the end of the wet season, when grass remains abundant. Within minutes, a newborn stands and follows its mother, instant adaptation for a life defined by movement. When danger appears, the lead stallion immediately intervenes, blocking the formation or attracting the predator's attention to buy time for the group's escape. Bonds within each harem are maintained through mutual grooming, body contact, and a complex signaling system, from resonant barks to subtle ear and tail movements. When food is plentiful and the plains stretch wide, multiple harems merge into larger aggregations, bolstering safety in numbers and forming formidable migratory forces.